Hello and welcome back to All Over the Place. We are back, unfortunately, with another memorial, and I'm going to bring in the guys for this one. And just sad day over the last couple of days with the passing of Chuck Norris, and of course, with all the internet memes, we have to be reminded Chuck Norris didn't die. Death, Chuck Norris.
That's right.
But we're gonna get into what we loved about Chuck, but his movies, TV shows, persona, and I'm gonna say very quickly. I'm gonna get it out of the way. I didn't get into action movies until a little bit later in my life. However, my dad, big action movie guy. So once we get the VCR and all that, a lot of Chuck Norris movies were floating through the household. So I got a couple of early ones. Good Guys Wear Black, The Octagon, things like that were in the house, and So again, nothing really for or against Chuck Norris and the action movies. What I saw, I liked, but for me, it was more, just what a good guy he was, and that came across, and especially at a time where you didn't get a whole lot of that. You didn't know a whole lot about people, except for like what you saw in the Entertainment Tonight stuff like that. But every story was always about Chuck Norris. What an amazing person he was, and always helping out other people on the set, offset. Just a great guy. And just in the last couple of days, internet-wise, there was something very poignant from Christy Brinkley, who did some exercise and training videos with Chuck. And she said that it could have been any more opposed, politically speaking, because she was a delegate for Gore, and Chuck, a friend of the Bush family, and just a Republican or just an American. And but Christy said that didn't get into any of our conversations. It didn't affect our friendship. And it was really, really, refreshing to hear that in this divided America now. And for Christy to bring that up and just really, that was her way of saying thank you and rest in peace, Chuck. So that was very cool. And Chuck Norris, rest in peace. Awesome person, awesome American, rest in peace. And I'm going to hand it over to Marty right now, and because he's been an action movie guy for a long, long time. And Marty, I'm going to give us what you got about Chuck Norris.
Yeah, I'm. You get what you see. What you see is a normal guy. I liked action movies. I was even into the Hong Kong, the Chinese karate movies or kung fu movies at the time, and was into all of that. So. Any kind of kicking and punching and smashing, and I was into it. But my first real exposure to this is awesome, this guy's awesome, was in '78. I must have been 10. Yeah, I was 10. Good Guys Wear Black, as you mentioned. It was just such a cool movie, and the trailer was amazing because that's what grabbed me. I'm sitting there as a little kid watching probably, Sunday night movies or something, and the trailer comes on, which I don't know. The way that movie got marketed, I don't know how exactly that made it to TV, but just the scene of him, the guy in the Celica driving at him, and he jumps and kicks through the windshield and kicks the guy in the face, I thought that was the coolest thing ever, man. Just dude. But that one and Force of One, those two movies, they didn't really get a lot of traction from the studios. So they went. I think it's called, maybe Jim, you can tell me. It's called Four-Walled, where they essentially take the movie themselves to the theaters, and then they get a cut. So they did that for both of these movies. They marketed them themselves. So I'm assuming in that they made that commercial. But that one and Force of One, which came out in '79. And then by '80, The Octagon came out. And The Octagon was fully backed. And, they then knew they had a product. The guy was just amazing. And had a cool demeanor. Bruce Lee had his thing where he's doing all that. But, Chuck had kind of the opposite thing. And he was cool and collected, didn't say much. He stayed calm, but everything about the guy. And then I find out in junior high, he's an actual badass. He's not some movie martial artist. he won a bunch of full contact karate tournaments and middleweight champion for a while, and just legit martial artist, guy who legitimately could do the thing, which that's kind of rare. Stallone and Arnold and some of these other guys, they can't really fight, and maybe Stallone because he did a lot of boxing training, but he wasn't a fighter, he was an actor, and but he's legit, and just Missing in Action, 1984, that was like right in high school for me. He played Colonel Braddock, which I always thought was a cool, James Braddock. It was a cool name. There's a lot, and I'm sure you guys are going to touch on all this stuff. But he Irish, British, Cherokee mixture, and he was a great guy. He did a lot of things, and I mean, I think everybody remembers the Total Gym. He hawked that thing for 30 years, I think. Like him and Christy Brinkley during those commercials for decades. I mean, apparently they were still selling because he kept going and kept going. And well respected guy, from actors, from combat athletes. Everybody loved Chuck, and that's why he had so many great jokes about him. That's why he was so revered, because he was a badass, but he was a good dude. Everybody liked him.
I like that in watching clips over the last couple of days. One where it was the noise of his kick, and the guy who was like his sparring assistant was Benny the Jet Urquidez.
Yes. Yeah.
So it was fun to see two combat guys go just having a good time.
Yeah. Well, in 72,
kickboxing, sport of the future.
Excuse me?
Kickboxing, sport of the future.
Yes. Yes. A little prophetic. In 72, The Way of the Dragon. So I guess Bruce Lee called Chuck Norris and said, "Hey, you want to come and do this movie with me? We'll do a really cool fight scene. You got some juice behind you, and let's do it. And Chuck tells the story, and he said, so who's going to win? And Bruce Lee's like, of course, me. It's my movie. But it was really well done, and it wasn't too much. There was obviously it was movie fighting, but very cool stuff. Very, very neat. And Bruce Lee graciously allowed Chuck to be a back and forth fight, which you hadn't seen. Bruce Lee was an ass kicker. He'd fight 9 guys, and he'd only take a few shots. But it was a back and forth battle, and you hadn't seen that with Bruce Lee. So he really respected Chuck Norris, and they really were peers. That was Bruce Lee's legendary. Chuck Norris is just as good, and I'll stand by that no matter what Bruce Lee fans say. Chuck was all of it, and in his later years, he got into judo and jiu-jitsu. So, somebody who could grapple or drag him to the ground, they're in trouble there too. The guy was a legit badass, like in every aspect and every sense of the word. So just love the guy. Love the dude.
Ricky Bobby named his 2 sons after him.
Yes.
End of story.
Respect.
All right, Jim, to you.
All right, so I'm a little bit younger, so I kind of came of age in the late 80s, early 90s era. So some of his earlier, more badass movies were a little bit after that time. But I was raised right. I was raised on Chuck Norris movies, and I think my personal favorite that I grew up with, just because for the nostalgia factor as a kid, is one that isn't much talked about nowadays, but Firewalker.
Ooh,
yeah.
Kind of a Indiana Jones adventure movie he did with Lou Gossett Jr., another favorite of mine. They had some great buddy chemistry, by the way. It's too bad they didn't team up for more movies. But really fun, funny movie. Not his typical thing where he's just kicking ass all day long. He has a fantastic bar fight scene where he kind of turns into the Chuck Norris we all know and love. But for the most part, he's kind of a wisecracking Indiana Jones type adventure hero in that one. It kind of more of a a jokey character, doesn't take himself that seriously. Just kind of showing a different side to himself, but it's just a really fun movie. It's got that 80s cheese factor that I love, and Chuck's great, and the cast is great, and it's just a fun cheesy movie all around. And I think I wore, so I actually taped that one off TV. That's how old I am. Those of a certain age remember doing that, and I think I wore out that videotape watching it as a kid because it was
just the tracking.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yep.
And
so,
if I'm not mistaken, that movie and Enemy Mine, another Lou Gossett, those were movies that teachers would show once spring fever kicked in and the teaching was done for the year. They were friendly enough for a classroom, so that's what they would pop in at the end of school years.
Yeah. You clearly had cooler teachers than I did, but yeah.
but I was the guy who was inserting one. You watch one day of Firewalker or Enemy Mine or whatever it was. I was the guy who threw in the copy of Animal House when the teacher wasn't looking. So yeah,
nice.
And this over my shoulder here, according to YouTube, this is not Good Guys Wear Black. It just looks like it.
Right.
Yes, and the other thing I wanted to mention was Walker, Texas Ranger.
Of course.
That was a cool show. I haven't rewatched it in a while, but I liked it. It was a little cheesy, but it was cool. It was Chuck Norris. How bad could it be?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Did you guys watch Conan O'Brien when he had the Walker thing where he would, because they had the rights to Walker Texas Ranger, so he had a little thing he would pull and it would show like a random clip from Walker Texas Ranger in the middle of the show. It's hilarious. Yeah,
that's awesome.
It's hilarious. You should look that up. Conan O'Brien with the Walker thing. Yeah, that was a good show. I watched it off and on, but I was a teenager at that point. I didn't watch a lot of TV. But another one I grew up with and loved was, of course, Invasion USA, Cold War classic. Chuck Forrest taking on the Soviets, and just ridiculous, but totally fun movie. By the way, real quick, is Invasion USA a Christmas movie? Yes or no?
Sure, why not?
Yeah. Okay. See, go ahead.
If Die Hard is, then
took the words right out of my mouth. Yeah.
This is what I'm saying. Die Hard opened up the floodgates, and now every freaking movie is a Christmas movie now. Like, you have to apply the same logic, right? Anything with Christmas. So anyway,
there's a Christmas tree in a shot anywhere in the background. Obviously, it's Christmas, or these people are lazy.
Exactly, or they just never took it down. So, we can let that debate rest. But yeah, really fun movie, utterly ridiculous. Love the bad guy in that, and just insane fun movie. So Delta Force, my other favorite from him, I didn't actually watch that until 5-6 years ago. I finally caught up to it because it was a little bit before my time. But fantastic movie. The first half is just like a regular thriller, and then it just turns into Chuck Norris kicking ass for the entire second half, and I love it for that. So
that's Lee Marvin
Lee Marvin, yep, yeah, him and Lee Marvin, and the hijacking and all that.
American badass right there. It doesn't get more American than that.
Absolutely, yeah, and I'm sure very accurate to what Delta Force does in real life, undoubtedly.
And he's a veteran. He was in the Air Force.
That's true.
Actually, in the Air Force, yeah.
That's true. He was. I meant to mention that he was in the Air Force. He's a veteran. Big. Always often spoke out for veterans, and God bless him for that. So those are probably my top three. I really appreciated when he got older. He's even when he was getting too old to do action movies, he still had fun. Had great cameos in Expendables 2, and of course Dodgeball. Expendables 2. So I got to say, I'm pretty sure he only agreed to do the cameo in Expendables 2. He said, I have to do one of my facts. I have to say it on camera. And he did. And I love that about him. Like, the guy just absolutely embraced meme culture long before other people did, and the whole Chuck Norris facts came out, early 2000s. A lot of celebrities were like, they would get butthurt if anybody talked about him on the internet. And he was like, no, it's hilarious. Bring it on. I love it. And just embrace it. I love that. I love that about him.
Well, on that note, let's go through one or two. Again, we could go on with these. These are
before we go-
hilarious. We're going on 25, 26 years now. But let's just do one or two, and I'll throw my favorite out there. Chuck Norris has a grizzly bear carpet in his living room. It's not dead. It's just afraid to move.
So before we get into the jokes, because there's a lot of them, I think my favorite role of his was in Star Wars, and that's he pretty much he was you could argue he was the biggest sort of character in the whole movie series.
Go ahead, explain.
Well, Chuck Norris is the Force.
I figured it was something like that.
Well played, sir. Well played. And on that note, let's throw one back to Mr. Norris.
To the Force.
He gets some whistle pig to Chuck.
Yum.
Yep.
To Chuck.
Wow, that whistle pig.
Do another of the chasers there. All right. Well, and my next favorite, then I'll pass it to you guys. Chuck Norris can send texts on a rotary phone.
That's pretty good.
All right, Jim, give us a couple of yours.
All right. Two favorites. Number one, Chuck Norris can count to infinity twice.
Twice. That's good.
Okay. My second one, Chuck Norris can touch MC Hammer.
Ooh,
that's
yeah.
good. That is good.
That's a double celebrity fact right there.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. That deserves another.
And I can only hope that MC Hammer is wearing his genie pants.
Indeed. And can I just say the Chuck Norris facts? It's the timing on those was great. I think that's why they were so popular, because they came out. The Chuck Norris facts came out in the mid 2000s. Our culture was getting, shall we say, a little less masculine. A lot of the big tough action stars, the Schwarzeneggers and Stallones were getting kind of too old to do action. They were getting replaced by these kind of skinny, a little bit more sensitive guys. The Jason Bournes and the new James Bond. The Daniel Craig James Bond. A little bit more in touch with their feminine side, shall we say?
Yeah.
But the Chuck Norris facts was like taking us back to the old school 80s badassery, movies like Commando and Cobra, where everyone's just over the top, ridiculously badass macho, and just taking us back to that and embracing it in a fun way that we were allowed to embrace in that culture, because it was the joke was so ridiculously over the top that we could just embrace it and have fun with it.
Yeah.
And I think that's why they're so popular and why they're still popular like 20 years later.
Yeah. So on that note, Eric, give me a buzzer at 15 seconds. Ready?
Go.
Chuck Norris doesn't flush the toilet. He scares the shit out of it. When Chuck Norris was born, he drove his mom home from the hospital. When Chuck Norris slices onions, the onions cry. When the boogeyman goes to sleep at night, he checks under his bed for Chuck Norris. Chuck Norris uses a ribbed
wait, one more.
One more.
After Boogeyman, go.
Time waits for no man unless that man is Chuck Norris.
My friend, I don't think you could have ended it better than that one. And Chuck Norris, gone, never, ever forgotten for his movies, TV shows, being able to have a sense of humor about himself. The total gyms, which are probably being sold 3 per minute as we're speaking. So, Chuck Norris, we've already raised a glass, a shot, whatever it was. Once again, thank you for many years of badassery. Rest in peace, Chuck Norris.
To Carlos.
You're here. To Carlos.